personalized content continues. Over the years, Dataclay's templator simplified and accelerated the process of customizing video by automating production workflows in various studios, saving them time and resources. Then, as our awesome users asked, we listened. Our latest version of Templator makes it even easier to turn your data into video deliverables. Imagine integrating AE's state-of-the-art capabilities into your own apps. With Templator, it's simple. Leave spreadsheets behind for Templator's integration with Dataclay Q, an API experience that's easy to navigate and empowers you to easily send data from your apps to AE with plug-and-play simplicity. The Q button connects Templator directly to your app's data. Integration is only a click away. Before running an intensive batch render or starting up a rendering server, use Templator's Spot Check feature to export thumbnails of your dynamic comps to easily verify your data renders exactly as you intend and quality assure render jobs in minutes. Templator now also accommodates responsive motion graphics seamlessly, giving users freedom to create dynamic, on-brand motion graphics toolkits. To support multi-frame rendering in After Effects, Templator is now multi-threaded. It also ships with support for Apple's Silicon processor, so you can take full advantage of your system's multi-core processing power and memory for blazing fast performance. This release includes improvements and fixes for long-standing bugs, making it the most robust version ever. Plus, it ships with all the amazing features you've come to enjoy, so you can customize lower thirds, stings, tags, and overlays. Easily replace footage and set auto layout rules. Incorporate live data from various sources, localize text with Google Translate, and perform batch operations that render unique videos or create distinctive compositions. It's ideal for ads, signage, news graphics, interstitials, and so much more. We've also launched the marketplace for our community. New artists can get a head start on using our tool, while existing customers can license their professionally designed, data-ready AE projects to other users. Meet the demand for content with Templator from Dataclay.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. This is the fourth podcast that we've done at Dataclay. I am so happy to introduce Keith Hopkin. He's joining us today. He's a creative director at BMG 360. It's a full-service performance marketing company. Keith primarily focuses on producing creative ads for social media. He brings a wealth of creativity and technical prowess to devising practical solutions that harness Templator for rendering countless video assets used in online campaigns. And as a longtime user of our software, he unlocked the potential of creative automation early on, and he uses it to quickly test what messaging works and what doesn't work. So we're here to learn a little bit about Keith, his background, and to see some of the work he's built with the help of our software. Keith, thank you for your time today. Hope all is well on your end. How are you doing? Oh, I think we see you. You're on mute. There you go.
There we go.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we got you now.
Can you hear me now? Thanks for having me, Ari.
Yeah.
Also, that intro sequence is pretty nice. I don't think I've ever seen that particular one.
Yeah. There's a lot it's a good summary, I suppose, of what's going on. Before we show your stuff, though, I just want to kind of learn a little bit about your background. If you could just tell us just a tad bit about, how you started doing what you're doing professionally, and what the path was like towards doing what you're doing now with automation. Just, a little brief overview.
I started my career as a web developer, so front end, back end stuff, and with a passion for video and all things creative. So as I was developing websites, I was always tinkering and making, fun one-off things, memes, that kind of thing. As I started to dive deeper into Premiere for video editing, I always had kind of After Effects kind of in the back of my head. This is something I should try. This is something I should try. Until I was forced to use it. I didn't like it. Like a lot of people who go from Premiere to After Effects. Then I actually realized how much potential it had, realizing that, that After Effects expressions are so powerful and that, it's essentially JavaScript, and I was already familiar with this.
Right.
Then I kind of started to really harness like the kind of programmatic abilities of After Effects. Then I was working on a project where we needed to create a lot of versions of something.
Okay.
And I discovered that After Effects had the capabilities of importing a CSV file. So you can, take a spreadsheet and use that data to control your, your After Effects project. That became quite cumbersome, and there was plenty of limitations. I was proud of the work that I did thus far. And then I discovered Templator, and that kind of changed everything. And then I worked on a project that required the company I was at the time to translate a specific ad for Instagram in 7 different languages in 9x16, 4x5, 16x9, might have been a 1x1. So that would be a lot of work to do by hand, especially given the rounds of client feedback and whatnot. So that was my kind of first. That was probably an extreme dive into Templator, not just sort of like, oh, let's just replace this text and be done with it. So this required a lot of sort of planning and thinking about how it would be rigged, as it's called in the Templator world. I also had to throw in some of my own customizations and scripting, because this thing needed to look like the Instagram user interface. And I couldn't really deviate too far from like the buttons or where the hashtags are, the descriptions. I do have this on my screen at the moment. It's a kind of a sizzle reel.
Yeah, let's take a look. Alan, let's take a look.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I basically wanted to kind of show them all together. These are all the 9x16 versions. So, this thing starts off with this simple text animation in 7 different languages. Fortunately, we had a talented group of people around the world who would, go through the English version and localize it for us, down to the, nuances of some of the Hindi, which has.
So in this project, you worked with professional translators. You didn't rely on some auto translation service.
I mean, it's a pretty big client, so we didn't want to have certain things just auto translated and be completely incorrect. So I did dabble with Google Translate, and that that's like a great, I think, first step, at least if you want to placeholders. And just stepping through this animation, I will credit the animator who created the original design for this. I went in and basically chopped it all up and made it, and templatized it. So as you can see, everything down to the buttons, the shopping buttons. Some of them remained in English. The words "search Instagram," everything on these screens is a part of a Templator project.
Okay. So just to be clear, the main one of these rectangles is a After Effects composition, right?
One single composition. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the After Effects project to show you at the moment, but yeah, one composition, 7 different languages. You can see some of these buttons. The follow button. And the follow counts and everything, and some of these, they wanted some of the hashtags to be slightly different in some cases. All these descriptions are all pulled from a Templator sheet. Some of the videos needed to be swapped because they didn't want a guy singing karaoke in the Hindi version. They wanted this kind of traditional drum playing.
So you're able to not just swap out text, but also footage, which Templator does really.
That's right. Yeah, that is right. So pretty fluid. And here's our, kind of our closing. Oddly enough, the hashtags are all in English. I haven't looked at Instagram in other languages, but this is how we did it. I do have the sheet I pulled up. This project is probably 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
But the sheet itself was I ended up templating a lot of things that didn't necessarily need to be templated, but
Mhm.
because I was in the project, if something needed to be changed, it could be changed. So, there was certain, all the captions for each one of those Instagram, one of those posts,
Right.
is in here. Some of the language for, what million is, needed to be
Right.
adjusted. So these
Okay.
on-off notations are certain areas where I had to turn certain things off. Do not recall exactly what those were for. It's been a while. Different words that, that's were meant to just say search. It was quite a project. Also, we had to QC all this stuff, and so all the
Right.
different people who localize the languages QC these for me.
And just out of curiosity, do you have any uh, idea maybe how many people actually gathered around this data and like kind of looked at it before you hit that render automation
Oh,
button?
this in this
Yeah,
case,
like how many people were actually involved in formulating the or reviewing the data and QCing it and all that?
probably not in this sheet, but there was a sheet that somebody else created that had like a frame and then had all the translations for each one.
Okay,
But yeah, I was pretty much solo on this part of it.
I see. Okay,
But anyone, I always invite people to come into the sheet because it is a Google sheet. Anyone can come in and adjust or make
nice.
modifications
Right,
to it, which is the nice part about it.
right.
It can become a collaborative effort, which I did do recently with one of my colleagues. I could show you that in a little bit.
Hmm.
So that was my first foray into it. Kind of a little bit more than I think most people would do when they kind of first use this
Approach it.
platform.
Yeah,
But it was
yeah.
good practice, and it got me primed to just kind of realize I can use it for so many other things.
Hmm.
One of those things is creating modular user UGC, which is user generated content,
Yes.
which I think we're all familiar with. People are shooting stuff on their phones. They're making stuff for brands.
Right.
What I do and what we do at BMG 360 is it's growth marketing. We create ads that we can post on Facebook, TikTok,
Okay.
and we can test them. We can put certain amounts of spend into it, and we can test their performance. Every client has a different metric. It might just be clicks. It might just be installs. It might be to get you to buy a certain product.
Hmm.
We're all used to seeing ads, and what's going to get somebody to take an action,
Hmm.
to buy a product, or even to just sign up to your newsletter, get you into the funnel.
Sure.
And one of those ways is to obviously attract your attention. And these days with social media, with the swiping and scrolling, we sort of like to try to catch people's attention within the first 3 seconds, which is a
Definitely.
common metric. It's called the hook rate,
Okay.
and gets you at least past the first 3 seconds and into the ad to learn more about the product or the brand
Right.
to get you to stick around. So what's great about using Templator for this is I've been writing scripts for talent to read a bunch of different hooks. The
Okay.
hook being that first line: "This innovation will change your life. If you
Okay.
don't have one of these, then you're missing out."
Right.
I made this fake ad that I'll show you about rubber bands being that product. Rubber bands are the best thing since string. So in theory, I would have these people shoot each one of those lines separately. They can do as many takes as they want. They can shoot it in their car. They can shoot it at home. They can shoot it in a
And they're just
pile of
using their
other stuff.
iPhones. Like they're just like they
Typically, they're
don't
just
need.
using their phone. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
We might have specific direction on that, and then or some people just they have their own thing, and we let them run with it. So
Okay.
we might get 2 people that month. We might get 10 people that month. It all depends on budgets and what we're trying to achieve for the client. In this particular case for the script, the middle is just the same thing. It's just
Hmm.
it's a description with a bunch of B-roll shots, and then your call to action. If you were testing a call to action like shop now, buy now, or you got to get this thing before we sell
Hmm.
out, or Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We could have a call to action where they do a Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing that we just use for a short period of time, but then we have the sign up today, more evergreen content. So I made a mock-up ad just to kind of illustrate this. And what I did was I shot some stuff on my phone
Okay.
of myself talking about this amazing rubber band product. And I broke them up into these short little clips. So I did this part in Premiere. So I have my the intro clips. I'll just play a couple of these for you real fast. They are super quick.
Let's hear it. Let's see it.
This innovation will change your life.
So that's change your life. This is you're missing out.
You don't have one of these, then you're missing out.
So you get the idea there. And then I played another character, assuming this is another person.
Okay.
This innovation will change your life.
And I purposely did that one a lot slower because you'll see how Templator will handle that.
Sure.
And there's
the
another
time,
version.
the time
Yeah,
changes the duration.
You're missing out.
Right. And then there's just this middle clip that is the middle. So this is just, we just share them for both of these. It could be a different voiceover. In this case, I just say voiceover.
Rubber band stretch, so you can put them around anything. You can keep your snacks fresh or organize your old iPhones that you should have probably recycled 5 years ago. You can even use rubber bands as a fashion accessory.
And then it goes to then the call to action for each one of these characters is simply.
So what are you waiting for? Get a box of 10,000 of these today.
He doesn't need a box of 10,000 rubber bands. It'll last you 2 lifetimes.
Right. Yeah.
So I can get into the project. Oh, and then let me just show you an export. So here are these exports of each of those 2 guys. And here's like a full version of this. And then I added the text in After Effects, and each one of these will have a different piece of text. And this is all based on one single composition. I'll just lay them out on the screen. So the entire video, will go something like this.
If you don't have one of these, then you're missing out.
And music.
Rubber band stretch, so you can put them around anything. You can keep your snacks fresh or organize your old iPhones that you should have probably recycled 5 years ago. You can even use rubber bands as a fashion accessory. So what are you waiting for? Get a box of 10,000 rubber bands today.
And then there's the CTA graphic.
Yeah, the CTA Mid-Journey image using AI.
Mid-Journey. Nice.
I was curious to see what the box is like.
Sure.
So I'm going to open up this project here in After Effects.
All right, here it is, everyone. Okay.
Okay, here's my sheet. So here's the After Effects project to show you how simple this is. Now, all those outputs were generated with this one 9x16 comp, which simply consists of a video 1, 2, and 3 layer.
Okay.
And if I swap, let me try this new shortcut I just learned. Nope, that didn't work. If you can see that these are all different video clips, and I'm going to let me open up Templator.
All right.
It's down here, Templator 3, JSX bin.
It is. It's been so long. It's still Script UI. It's not SEP, everybody, but it's tried and tested.
I'm going to connect to my sheet.
Okay.
I'm already logged in to my BMG 360 account.
Right.
I'm going to select the modular UGC tab, which is referencing this tab over here.
Back there. Yeah.
I'm going to link. And then the first step is I know that I want rows 4 to 9.
Right.
4 to 9. And I'm going to backtrack to the first row. And we will see these clips all time shift because they are all loading in. So this whole thing just shifted.
Wow.
And loaded up a new intro, a new middle. It's really the same middle in this case. And then my outro. This, for those who do not know Templator, your layer names with the Templator effect applied on them, works as an effect, correspond to a column in a Google Sheet, which I feel like most people are more familiar with. And video 1, video 2, video 3. And all I'm doing for each version of this ad or video, whatever you want to call it, is change the file name. So I have all those file names that I just showed you in that exports folder. So I can just go from, if I had, 10 more of these that I got back from people, all I'd have to do is just create new rows, and I can just create, 10 more new versions of this. If I wanted to change the the call to action. If I had multiple call to actions, all I would have to do is just change these files here.
Right. So the data drives the composition, and yeah, it's fantastic. So talk about, can you advance to another one of these rows here inside of
Yeah,
After Effects, and the just so we can see that timeline. So that kind of intelligent ripple edit, if you will. How is that set up? I'm just curious, like how you're.
yeah.
Can you show a
Well,
little bit about that?
So video 1 is going to load up, and it's the lengths of these are all different. Video 2, well, how is this thing going to, normally if you were editing in Premiere, you'd have to actually move things around manually.
Yeah.
Who needs that when you can just do it this way? So if you go to the time setting,
Right.
there's this setting called shift, and you can pick which you're going to kind of use as the reference point to shift from. In this case, the shift target. So I have chosen video 1, and I am choosing the out point of video 1 to have this shift. And that's it. And then you can create some overlap if you'd like.
If you want.
I believe that is in frames.
Yeah, it's in frames.
Yeah, I did it back here, and I'll show you why I did that.
Okay.
So I'll advance to the next row, which will be, just to look at this screen, that first one was "This will change your life," and you'll notice that text box at the top will change to "You're missing out."
Okay.
So that'll be the next row. There it is. You're missing out. And then you see everything shifted. The other thing is, I've been doing this a lot. I want the text to only appear in that first intro clip. Rather than burning that in to my original MP4 video, it's preferable to make it more modular and templated. So, this text box is using another, because this is also being trimmed. You can see this clip is quite long. I don't want it that long. I just want it to. So what I'm using there. Yeah, I'm using the time.
It's the trim. Yeah, the trim. Preserving the start, and then you watch the out point of the video 1.
That's right.
Yeah.
Out point of video 1. So it's looking at how this clip ends in this out point, and it's trimming it. So you never have to manually do that either. Yeah. And this is like this might not be this exact look, but it's fairly common on like social media posts to have whether it's a thumbnail or it's just an intro text piece to kind of help call out or to catch your attention, especially if you're not using sound.
Right.
So that's, yeah. So
so the whole thing though is that, like, it seems like you're using Templater more as I think you called it earlier at some point when we were, when you were first learning Templater, like a robo edit or something, which, I think a lot of the customers, a lot of the users are, changing graphics, just changing like a text, changing a number. But here, what you're doing, it's very creative in that you're playing with time more so than I think is typically done with Templater. Although we do see this occasionally, but the way that you're doing it and then how you source those clips is fantastic with the end user, just like a normal person uploading whatever it is that they're going to upload, right? So that's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I found with sourcing user generated content, typically you want people to kind of voice everything in their own words. You don't necessarily just kind of script everything, because then it's much less of a user generated ad. So this is, kind of fully scripted. Sometimes you give people some leeway there, but if this is for a testing purpose and you want to find out if people are, responding, only one of these intros, one of these hooks, the best things in string, let's say that's the one that stands out, whether more people clicked on that or purchased 10,000 rubber bands, or the platform put more spend into it, which is another indicator that the ad is doing well, because there are algorithms on these platforms that can take over. Once you find that out, you can decide, okay, there's these two people that we tested this simple thing with. Now let's take this a step further, and then let's do a whole bunch of kind of versions or articulations of the best things in string, and let's maybe have people hold string, like you can kind of like just expand from that one concept, or you can kind of use that one as like as the lead off, and then start having people upload or send us new versions of like the middle part, or maybe
interesting.
So
sometimes the research that you're doing with the versions influences like future production on the UGC side on what people are producing.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Plus, really you might also find, that like there's a few people that just resonate more. I mean, that's the case with any on-screen talent. People are either great actors, or they just, they emote. They sell a product better than somebody else. And that might be, you might run this same exact format with 10 different people, yet this one person is the only one that actually gets people to buy the product. So you can kind of rule out, like some of the messaging, not completely, but you can say, okay, this person, let's hire this person again, or let's hire more people that kind of fit in this demographic, or somebody that talks really fast, somebody that talks slow, somebody that, lives in this part of the country.
Nice. And I guess you work with a team to source those types of folks that are going to submit the UGC content.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, every client has like a different, if there's a fitness client, they want people that are fitness oriented, if there's, somebody that's like a foodie, we're going to want people that, like know what they're talking about when it comes to food, or have a nice kitchen that they can talk about the meal kit they received.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
that's really cool. And so, talk about the frame overlap there. You mentioned there's a frame overlap on the time-based stuff. And is that just because of the animation you've got going on, or?
I think sometimes we just want to cut for time, and somebody's doing the call to action, and it's easier. It's just as easy to have somebody kind of get trail off and like the end card to pop on sooner than later.
So the audio is still running, but the graphic shows up.
Yeah, and that's not like an uncommon thing. Let me verify that now.
Okay.
I'll just skip to the end here.
Box of 10,000 rubber bands today.
So there's the.
But you can decide also that you want to have this entire, we could do, if we wanted to have this snap to this, the entire end card would be just a voiceover, so that would be simply just changing the shift. The shift, right?
Yeah.
So easy enough. And one thing I'll also imagine this has this is 45 different versions, and then all of a sudden, we decide, let's run all these with like a Black Friday, Cyber Monday, banner on top. Well, all you have to do is just change this to a Black Friday, Cyber Monday banner, and then hit replicate, which is the button typically somebody would use to output all these. And now you have, 30 versions of it that have the Black Friday, Cyber Monday banner on top of it without, really doing anything. I mean, I could literally just change this. You're missing out. Do it in real time.
Okay.
Black Friday.
That's coming up.
It's coming up. And then I'll do this, because you can do that. And then I will go back to row one.
Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is.
So there it is. Now I have a Black Friday. I have a Black Friday ad, guys. All done.
Yeah. And I see you have the pro version of Templator, which allows you to do the desktop automation. But just so you know, the bot version would let you change it up, and then you set the row to ready, and then it would just kick off the render. You wouldn't even have to have the person there.
That's right.
The operator. But yeah, no, this is a good workflow too. I mean, either way, like you're still saving a ton of time, in the whole iterative process.
And one thing that when I see people editing and just changing small little things, I'd rather see people being kind of more creative with the edit, or like with the the different parts of it, whether it's kind of this middle part, for example. You can do a lot of things there, or you can play a lot with the graphics or any other kind of animations. spending more time on that, or sort of like writing the script, or the things that are more human, you can spend more time on. The things that we're here to do, to like, make exciting content or exciting ads, rather than, kind of the monotony of like editing and then QCing and, file naming and everything. One of the things I love about Templator and this output column is being able to just, fluidly name the files and not have to worry about that process. And I typically just use, a concatenate function, and I just kind of combine all the necessary pieces for that. And then I can, it's a 9x16, it's the client is Acme, the campaigns are our brands, and all that stuff just kind of gets,
added.
all,
That's great.
change the file name and the
there you
structure
go.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then,
no, that's clever. That's really clever. I think that's probably, there's the whole joke about like, final
I-
version 1, final version 2.
final.
Really
I could do
done.
that too if we wanted to.
That's cool.
the-
But Tom, so in terms of the outputs, do you focus mostly on video? I know that you had some content that's statics.
That's right.
I'm just curious about. I think that some of the folks watching are might be curious about that, because I don't think people realize you can create imagery, just static imagery with After Effects. And if you could talk a little bit about that, that would be fantastic.
Yes. Let me pull up in that project, which I somehow lost in my things. I'm just going to talk really slow.
While we're waiting, I have advised some customers that they can use After Effects for print. They look at me funny, but you just have to know the pixel dimensions for that high DPI, and you can do print. So
yeah, I mean, I would probably do that too. I've done, I use software in all different funny ways.
Right.
So yeah, one thing also I want to add to this kind of Google Sheet thing, which I can show here, is I've sort of gotten to this point of like so we have to do multiple sizes, 1x1, 9x16, 4x5. They all share similar content. So I've just been like kind of making this little drop down here to change the target and change the file output name. And then I can kind of run those off. Boom.
Very nice. So you're using the drop down tech inside of the sheet, and that cascades into the cell. That's great.
That's right. You just gotta then if you're using a consistent naming convention, which is I think probably something from my web development background, then you kind of won't ever get caught with like, oh, there should be a space, it's capitalized, it's put the ratio at the beginning or the end. So I try to keep things consistent for my own sanity. I believe in these things. You can't use underscores. That could be
the latest version you can. In the latest version, in the newer versions, yeah. Early on, we were using the Google Sheets API version 3, and now it's using version 4 of the API, and it forgoes a lot of the restrictions on that regard. Yeah. So how does the static stuff work in terms of the templator side, or here inside of the AE side and templator?
Yeah. So you guys have this feature called Spot Check, which is designed for effectively spot checking a large batch of video.
Yes.
You'd want to be able to, you got 50 videos and the 1-800 number changes, in the beginning and the end, something. So you don't want to have to sit through and watch
the whole render.
The whole render. You can specify the frame with a frame marker. I wanted to say label, and it'll output PNGs, whatever format you want, right? So you can just then quickly thumb through and effectively spot check the work before you even render, or even after render, because you can render you can render those simultaneously, I believe. So you can kind of always have
it'll however many markers you have on that comp timeline, it'll output for every row.
Yes.
In the sheet. So okay.
I'm gonna connect to the other tab.
Okay.
Which is my statics tab, which is this right here. And it's pretty simple. We got a gradient overlay. We have an image in the background. In this case, instead of referencing the image file, kind of how I was referencing the video files, I pre-comped these images so that I can I don't want these images just to kind of load, however.
Sure, you want some creative control, which is something that that is an essential part of this tool, right? Is it keeps the end user having some creative control. I think that's a really good point to bring up.
So yeah, so with that, there is some manual setup, not a huge deal. It's like I got a bunch of these are all Adobe stock images, so there's a watermark there.
No worries.
So yeah, I just opened these.
Nobody's not going to come after you.
Yeah, I think if you have the watermark on, it's okay. That was sort of the idea. Yeah. You always see people on Instagram posting like Getty images with the watermark. Everything's okay until you monetize on it. I think that's
right. They're like, wait a second. Okay, so you do some pre-designer centric creative work for the cropping. Like you think about the cropping as a human. That's good.
That's right. And this could be something more complex too. It doesn't just have to be an image. It can be some kind of intricate design, illustration or something. In this case, it's just a photo. Mm-hmm. And then I have a design of a headline, pretty straightforward, a product name, a subheadline, which all have the templater settings applied to them, which also is utilizing the attachment padding functionality.
All right.
Which I can show you how that kind of plays in. And then I got a call to action, a CTA, which is right here. Mm-hmm. And pretty straightforward. Each one of these columns corresponds to these layers, and that's how it works. So like right now I have the Extreme Z, vitamin Z76. So I'm just gonna, for demo purposes, just change that first one to vitamin on row 3.
Yeah.
Row 6. So that is vitamin. Also the image swapped to whatever this guy is. Mm-hmm. Workout 1. So if I just step through these ads, you'll see
the different imagery in the text.
The image, and I think for this example, the text is all the same. But say the client wants to say, sign up,
right? And
they want to change their call to action button. Again, I'm only showing 4 here for demonstration purposes, but this could be 1,000 rows, if it was needed. It could be 100 rows. Sure. So now these are all going to say, sign up.
So each one's going to be different. Yeah. But my question, I guess, is, does the content that you produce end up in some kind of A/B testing phase? Or is it like they already have figured it out by the time they come to you and they're like, hey, Keith, we need 10 of these things that say different CTAs for different markets? Or I guess that's my question is really about, where does the actual output end up? Is it kind of a trialing phase, a testing phase, and then it goes into production? Or is it already?
It could be either one. It could be, there could be a champion asset, which is, in the ad that just kind of outperforms everything, no matter what you throw at the account.
Okay.
And then somebody might say, let's try some iterations on this champion asset. In this case, it could be the champion asset could be the image of this guy with his back to the camera, which is row 6, workout number 4, I think.
Yeah.
We could be like, all right, let's make, vitamin the headline on all these things, and let's make it vitamin B12. I don't even know. Is that a real vitamin?
It's a real vitamin. Right. It's, I think, if you don't get enough sun.
Okay.
Which is what us post people end up not getting enough of.
Sun. So I'm gonna, well, this would make it all the same. So I need to change this. The sub headline, it's still going to make you lift 1,000 pounds. Okay. We're going to test the headline. New, old, buy now. So like, let's say that this one image is the champion asset, and we want to test like, a couple of different headline variations.
Right.
So image is the same, but the title is different.
So if you let's try the spot check though, since it's just a a still image. Let's see how you do the actual output. Like, can we?
Yeah. So since I have the this thing is getting too wide. Okay, so I have this label here. It's called static, which static for static image. Could be anything, could be a number. And then I will hit spot check. I have this folder here. That's just like a local folder on my desktop.
And then hold on, before you do that, before the output, there's also the module, right? The format and the preferences.
Oh yeah,
not there, but in the preferences, there's a spot check area. Let's see, there it is. Yeah, under spot checks, you can choose, and you looks like you have a PNG still.
That's right.
Like you made that. Okay.
I totally forgot how I added that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
I added it once, and that was it.
Yeah, that's all I got to do.
And then in theory, so you make sure you have your range set if you're using the pro version, not the bot. And then you hit spot check. And actually, let me just open up because it happens quick.
Right.
And it's always surprising how fast it does happen.
I love it. I love that surprise.
Yeah.
So does everyone who uses Templater. They love it.
So here's my spot check folder. And then I'm going to hit this button and then magic will happen.
Yeah. Hopefully.
And you'll see it happen here. You'll see it happen down here. And then you'll see the images just populate right in here.
Yeah. So, and then the output names are.
Yeah. And then the output names are based on, there we go. So it's just ABCD in this case. Yeah. I will say for any templater noobs watching this that might have gotten this far through my babble, this output column, if you're using the pro version or bot, I guess, could burn you if you don't change that, because you will go through this either spot check or replicate, and it will look like they're all replicating, and they are, but they will just constantly be overwriting the same file over and over again. So you got to make sure that the file name is unique.
Yes, absolutely. Well, this has been amazing. We're 40 minutes in, and I guess, I appreciate you showing, how you work and how you approach the work. I think everybody that is watching or will watch also will appreciate that. So thank you for sharing that. I guess one question I have is before we wrap up is, since you've been in this kind of mode of production and automation for quite some time, what are your thoughts on, where this is going? What do you think we can expect with this kind of dynamic media now that it's kind of in the hands of, the AE user, or I should say Creative Cloud user? Where do you think this might head?
Well, I think more people should be using this, and that's not just to be nice because we're on this podcast, but I think a lot about AI and automated. There's a lot of automated platforms out there that people keep sending me, check this out. It's like, upload 3 assets and we'll make 10,000 ads for you.
Right.
First of all, how are you going to QC that? Second of all, are they going to look good? And third of all, are you going to actually have a lot of control to make them good ads, or are you going to be able to respond to client feedback using one of these automated platforms, on these web-based platforms where you just plug in a bunch of things? Probably not. And that's where this becomes really powerful still, because After Effects is a super powerful program for, just precision and whether it's motion or design. So you can, and one of the things that is great about this process, I sometimes tell people, is you might not even need to deliver 10 ads to the client, or 10 print pieces, or 10 statics, or 100, but you sure can show them all the options. So this is like another use case, and I do this sometimes too. So you can kick out 20 versions of this thing. Which one do you want? Do you want 2 of them? Do you want 5 of them? So it's less kind of less grinding on that to get client approval.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think definitely there are a lot of, we're aware of a lot of different platforms that allow you to do similar things, like you said, and the control, or just having, being able to craft, having that kind of, I say playful You know, it's a little bit of a playing kind of thing that we creatives like to have, right? And with those platforms, maybe it's not there. You know, maybe there, and I think Adobe in particular does a fantastic job evangelizing and also just, you know, educating creative people how to maintain that kind of creative control. So it's nice to have that kind of within that their tools already, and then you also get all the nice graphics R&D, right? That third-party developers like Maxon, you can do like tracking with Templator. You know, you can do the trap code stuff with Templator, and so you're not going to get that with something that might necessarily just be web-based, right? So yeah, that's it's a very good point. And I mean, how do you feel about AI? You know, how do you feel about using AI in this kind of context? Like, do you see that, you know, helping? Because we did a little experiment with Chat GPT inside of text layers and AE, but I'm curious about your thoughts on, you know, just seeing or using AI as a way to, you know, create the data.
I haven't really thought about it in creating the data. I mean, there's some instances of using ChatGPT to help generate like a headline, or, you know, to help with a script for the UGC content. You know, we might be stuck on some ideas. Some of the imagery, you know, it's great that some of the imagery is, you know, I pulled my box of 10,000 rubber bands from Midjourney. But I don't know, you know, this could be a whole nother
can of worms.
Whole other can of worms. I'm embracing it where it's, you know, practical and it's helping, but, you know, I haven't gone down like deep rabbit holes of, you know, stuff I've kind of come across on Twitter. Or, X.
X. Yeah, got to be careful how we call it now. All right. Well, you know, again, thank you, Keith. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for preparing these demos. I think it's really great, you know, and we will, you know, next, I just want to say for next week, we are doing not next week, sorry, the next episode, we will be showing folks how to set up a VM to work with Templator and Templator Bot and After Effects. So if you ever have a idea about just having a headless server running AE and Templator, we're going to kind of show that. But this has been great. We love having folks on showing what they're doing with the tool. So yeah. All right. So thanks for your time. And until next time, thanks everybody. And yeah, so thank you. Okay. We'll talk later.
See you later.
Adios. Bye-bye.